Bill, this is a snapshot of the way things have unfolded this season, and in terms of qualifying, as distinct from poles and shootouts, Jason Bright tops the chart from Mark Skaife, 4 plays 3, then Ambrose, Bauer, Kelly, Morris, Murphy, and then Todd Kelly. Now, when you actually analyse poles for 2004, Mark Skaife has been the king in that department with 4 of them. From Stephen Richards, it's been great for Stephen to come to terms with the notion of these one-lap shootouts. He's very proud of that achievement, particularly that lap at Bathurst. Marcus Ambrose shares 3 with him, and then Rick Kelly, Greg, and Craig Baird. What a great job for him down at Winton in the wet. Now, race wins for 2004, and Marcus Ambrose owns that department well and truly with a margin of 6 over Jason Bright from Rick Kelly, Mark Skaife, Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, then Russell, Cam McConville, and of course Greg Ritter, who shared with Marcus Ambrose. Now when we look at round wins where it all combines, and this is what matters, Marcus Ambrose 4 plays 2, Jason Bright, Rick Kelly, Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, Cam McConville, Greg Ritter, who as I said before shared with Marcus, and then Russell Ingall. And when you look at those numbers, it's the conversion between the shootout and the races that's hurt the Holden racing team. It shows that they've had qualifying and shootout speed. They've not been able to turn that into race results, and that's what they'll focus on in 2005 as we get set for this grand final race. For 2004, it'll be headed by Marcus Ambrose, Paul Radisich, Craig Lowndes and Stephen Richards, the first 2 rows of the grid.
A couple of guys here have made some pretty significant gains. Jason Richards qualified 17th. He was 17th in race 1 and then 5th in race 2. Remarkable achievement. I mentioned earlier Stephen Johnson's progression through the weekend. I mentioned Mark Skaife yo-yoing through the weekend. He's back up to the 4th row for this one. Look out for him. And Max Wilson likewise qualified 7th. He was 22nd in race 1 and fought his way back in race 2. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'm sure you will as well during the course of this race. Further down the order, we're looking for Bright and Murphy, of course, as we see Paul Wheel, Jason's teammate for the last time, I might add. There's Jason Bright, 21st position, and he's back in some pretty esteemed company there. Paul Morris has been quick this weekend, but just hasn't found race speed, and there was Murphy alongside him. Paul Dumbrella's back there with Tratt. Alex Davison trying to dial himself into the top level of touring car racing for a full-time gig next year with Larry Perkins. Dale Breed has had a pretty tough year. He's had more DNFs than anyone else in the championship. And further down, Steve Ellery has also been in the wars this weekend. Rick Kelly has managed to climb back into this race, so he'll be coming through the field. So a lot of interest in this race, a lot of drama, and not yet any rain. Revving now for the final time in 2004. This is the finale to the grand finale. Set at Eastern Creek and away. Even start, Ambrose and Radisich. Radisich gathers momentum. He's ahead as they run to the first corner, but Ambrose has the inside line and takes control. Where did Lowndes go? He didn't start as well as I would have thought. He's in 4th position right now, and the man pushing up hard is Stephen Richards in 3rd place. A Holden flying into this phalanx of Fords.
Another great start from Marcus Ambrose. He uses a handbrake and just loads up the clutch and loads up the torque in the engine and blasts away, and he's done a terrific job all weekend. And look at him zapping away on cold tyres, and we've got Winterbottom off car 20. He's got damage on that car and he's bogged in the gravel. That could even bring out a safety car.
Ambrose, clear leader. Look at the battle going on here. 3 wide into the corner, further down in the pack.
Jason Bright is the car that I think has had some contact with Winterbottom, because I can hear Phil Keed on the radio talking to Jason. Bright described the car as ugly, and he's going to try and limp it around. The safety car, I think, will be deployed. Look at all the debris on the outside of the circuit here. There's no grip. Safety car is deployed.
Okay, mate, you just the con safety car, the yellow flag. Just try and tell us what you think the damage is, Jay.
Phil Keed talking to Jason Bright.
Well, they haven't enough laps down yet to make a pit stop compulsory.
Lights are off on the safety car, so he'll peel into pit lane this time. Ambrose leads the gang. He had a 1 odd second margin when they crossed the line. Now they're all bunched up. They can't get out of this single file arrangement though, or that'll cause race control to bring someone in for a drive-through. And one of the HRT cars actually, I think, had to round up the safety car on the way to pit lane there, and is taking the opportunity to take service very early, which is a big gamble, because if it rains, that'll force them into a 2-stop scenario.
Ambrose already pulls away from them. Radisich defending from Richards, then Craig Lowndes. Jason Richards is up behind them, ahead of Max Wilson and Stephen Johnson.
It's Mark Scape in the pit lane for HRT, and again Ambrose just on pole tyres, disappearing the car.
Russell Ingall, sorry Neil, Russell Ingall is in 8th position as we watch Scape come in. He's exactly 15 positions ahead of Jason Bright, which would put him 2nd in the championship.
Well, I'd say that HRT must have elected to run their scrappier tyres, and they just want to get on their better tyres now, because if he was on his good tyres, they would have stayed on them in case it does rain and then just do one stop later. Oh, trouble there at 7. It was a PWR car with one of the WPS cars side by side.
Word from Mark Larkin, it's all A-OK from Mark Winterbottom's point of view. He says he copped a hit from behind, that's what caused that off before.
Ambrose did a 135 flat to get away from them there after resuming from the safety car. There's Kelly.
And Russell Ingall's just in front of him. He's taken service as well.
After Aussie car, you clear to exit.
Well, that's an interesting ploy from Stone Brothers. Russell...
Todd ran out of road on the pit lane exit.
You don't see that too often. Lucky there wasn't any traffic coming through. Now, Ingall, of course, is now slotted well back down the order to the tune of about 40 seconds. Will this pay off for him if there's rain? Definitely not. Lowndes trying to find a way past Stephen Richards to unleash himself to go after Paul Radisich.
Back of the bonnet, jumping around on the FPR car in the turbulent air behind Stephen Richards. 34.5 fastest lap for Marcus Ambrose, 2.1 second margin over Radisich. And then this battle involving Richards, Lowndes, Jason Richards,
Wilson using
Max
every
Wilson.
inch.
No millimetres left there, bringing up the rocks. When you look at the cars at the end of each of these race meetings, you look around the front of them, they look as though they've been sandblasted. They're just completely torn apart with stone chips from the dirt and stones getting pelted at them. You see them in the next race meeting, they're beautifully presented, absolutely brand new. Massive amount of behind-the-scenes work done to make them look right week in and week out.
Wilson just shaking off Stephen Johnson.
No other driver is in the 34s at the moment, underscoring this performance of Stone Brothers Racing with Marcus Ambrose. Well, closest man is a 35 even, and that's Paul Radisich, so...
Half a second.
Yeah.
That's big.
Very big in this field. And then the next group, for example, the fastest lap, Stephen Richards, Craig Lowndes, Jason Richards, 5.7, 5.7, 5.9. Mind you, they're tangling up a bit with each other, so that knocks their pace around.
And you wonder what sort of tyres Marcus is on, although really he showed that kind of form all weekend, so probably doesn't matter too much at this stage. Jason Bargwann has found his way into the top 10. He's been hanging around there for the entire weekend. Very, very consistent. Qualified 11th, finished 10th in race 1 and 11th in race 2. Riding with Russell now.
And he's mixed up with Mark Scape.
Well, isn't that a surprise? Well, Russell really has a lot to play for here, as we keep saying. He desperately does want that second position, arguably more than his rivals. So, what will Scape do to spoil the party?
And then playing weatherman again, Bill, and the news from our chopper pilot is that it could be rain a few minutes away. There's rain everywhere surrounding the area, but not right here at present.
If you're worried about Craig Lowndes and Russell Ingall, both their stops were pretty similar, very good stops. Notice that Lowndes' tyres that went on that car, Neil, looked like they were very good, and especially down the right-hand side as Rick Kelly comes in for his stop.
Surely if it rains, it'll be a big problem for Russell and those who've made their stops. The guys who will take advantage from it are roughly the top 16 or 17 drivers at the moment.
Get ready for Murph.
So Kmart Racing get Rick Kelly through, and as you heard, they're getting ready for Greg Murphy. Here's Ingall and Scape.
Russell's got a little bit more mid-corner pace than Mark, and Mark's got a little bit better drive in a couple of places. It's making a very even battle, but it looks at the moment as though Russell has got just that extra whisker of speed, and it's enough to take Mark's car slightly out of rhythm. Looking down the inside at 5.
Just emerged from the Gary Rogers Motorsport pit bunker and had a word to the boys down there. Garth Tander, who unfortunately broke the pinion in the differential on the grid yesterday, as you know, and was not able to even do a lap in that opening race, is running the gauntlet in his final run with his team. They're going to wait and see what happens with this weather, Neil. They've got the wet tyres on standby. Cam McConville, his teammate, has already been in for his compulsory stop for a new set of slicks, but they're going to wait and see what happens as far as Tander's concerned.
Oh, Ingle pushing up on the back of Scaife. There are quite a few drivers out there running the gauntlet, Greg, as we see Warren Luff tangling up with a WPS car.
Gets away with it, gets the throttle in and gets out the other side of the gravel. This is a battle and a half between Scaife and Ingle.
Don't know whether that was Kelly or Bernard, but Kelly had a severely broken nose, didn't he, Neil? We saw an earlier shot there. I don't know what he hit, but I have a suspicion it was Owen, because I think Warren was back down in that position. But with this pit stop shuffle, it's sometimes hard to pick. Bernard's not far away from that group either. Still England skate battle as Murphy.
And they're battling for 25th and 6th. Their last laps were 34.8.
Of course,
not a bad lap time, sort of Paul Radisich type lap times at the moment, but Ambrose is still in the league of his own.
If the rain doesn't come, this will be a battle for a much higher position, but we'll just have to wait and see. Ingle and Scaife, you only have to think back 12 months ago to this very circuit. This will be great.
Jeff Greg, Holden Racing Team, and he's looking on, looking at the weather, looking at the margins, watching the big screens, checking the computer, looking at the opposition. Mark Scaife just skipped away a little bit on this lap. The other thing that he'll be hoping is if he can suck Russell along, who has to use too much of his car. When you're usually tucked in behind like this, you tend to have to use a bit more of the tyre, use a little bit more of the brake, and you're a bit unsighted in a few places, and it can change your rhythm. And he'll be hoping that Russell torches the thing a little bit and loses some pace. He doesn't have that situation at the moment, though, because Ingle again is all over him down into 6-7.
He threatens on this section a lot and just hoping to force Scaife into some sort of error, but so far he's covered.
One spot at the moment that where something could unfold, and it's down here at turn 9. That's the only spot where he's really got an opportunity at the moment. He's going to have to hope that Mark ends up a metre or two wider than he needs to be. See, they're just not close enough there at the moment.
Bow closing up in the meantime. This has become a really interesting contest. And as I said, if there's no rain, this battle is for some significant points in the race. But at the moment, there are still 19 drivers out there yet to pit.
Billy, just to rub it into everybody in the field, Marcus Ambrose just nailed the fastest lap of the race at 1:33.8 on lap 13. Cop that, you lot. Unbelievable.
28 laps to go, mate. Currently P5 corrected.
Well, you made the comment, Neil, about the lap times that these guys are doing in the battle. What is Ingle doing here? He's gone a little bit further than he normally does, but Scaife is giving him no room. He runs a little wider, Scaife. He's still holding track position, though, and covers the line again. That's about the closest Ingle has come to getting past him.
It looks spectacular, though, but there's nothing he can do at really 5 and 6 there. There's nowhere you can get around. Two cars just won't go side by side in that position. However, down here they can. And Russell's now track sacrificing on the exit to get a better line through here and try and find a way past Mark. It's just not working at the moment. The cars have both got strengths in different areas. It's a really interesting battle.
Now, while this is going on, Jason Bright has clear track, and this comes down to what Phil Keane was trying to say.
Is that water on the lens of that camera?
Yeah, a couple of splats. It's either that or a rampant seagull that's had too much to drink. Garth Tander is defending position from Paul Wheel. These guys have yet to make their stops. Radisich leads the race from Stephen Richards. And Max Wilson, Jason Richards, they're all still playing that game. These guys are up there as well. Behind them, Craig Baird, Anthony Tratt is still out there. So is David Bernard. Alex Davison, Paul Dumbrell, Simon Wills, Marcus Ambrose is 13th.
There's a little bit of water appearing here. There's certainly nothing to get too excited about. Here goes Lowndes looking up the inside of Bow. Oh, close.
Lowndes looks again. Behind him, Todd Kelly. This is 20th, 19th, 20th and 21st.
At one stage, that group were ranging in a bit on the Ingle-Scaife battle, but they've just lost touch a little. I'm still surprised, given that there's not sunlight on the road and it's later in the day, that we haven't got better lap speed. And oh, John's just pinched the brake a little bit on the approach to turn 9. Got away with it.
Up behind these guys as well. And they've got about a 5-second gap to Paul Morris. Radisic's lead up the front is now to 3.6 seconds from Stephen Richards. So he still has good speed. And he's keeping an eye on the rain, or at least the pit crew is. There's Stephen Richards, second place in the race. He's got 2.3 seconds on Max Wilson. Jason Richards another 4.5 seconds behind, then another 3 seconds to Garth Tander. The top 5 cars are spread out. There's the race leader.
This is really heartening. Oh, Lowndes has got the job done, and Todd Kelly buys in as well with John Bow, but that puts him in an awkward position when they get to turn 3. Oh, Bow gave him some room too. He moved across to the grass to just enable it to all happen. They're still side by side.
Bow will not give in here. Inside line, Kelly stays with him. Where will this end? How will it end? Bow squeezes, but then Kelly stays. Oh, this is nightmarish stuff.
It's ugly about here.
Corner after corner, and finally, Bow relinquishes the position. And Cameron McConville may have been the most frightened of all, sitting behind all that. Well, this is a very significant part of the race now. Jason Bright is currently 3rd in the championship. He wants to stop Russell Ingall from finishing 2nd and Stone Brothers achieving a 1-2 result at the end of the year, which of course would give Ford more bragging rights over Holden. But to get back into 2nd, he has to pass these 2 cars immediately in front of him. Now, he was 3 seconds behind Warren Luff, and look at this. He has caught up to Luff very, very quickly. He's had clear track. He's got good speed. There's the equation with the points. Now, Ingall has gone out to an 8-point lead now. Now, a little while ago, it was only 4, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Either we...
It's just Bright making advances through the field, so... and they're all, keeping in mind, different people are peeling off in front and taking their stop, which reshuffles the field, so all the points shuffle accordingly. Bright's quite quick at the moment. For a guy, early he was complaining about the car not turning right very well, but it was turning left okay. And he's one of the quickest cars in the field, doing low 35s.
Well, Bright needs to go forward. Oh,
that would have been very close on exit between Wilson, and they've had to actually put a wheel nut back in that right rear.
Right, so it's 4 positions then between Bright and Ingall. Oh, there's traffic here as they come out.
See, this is the stuff that's changing the way the points are calculating at the moment, Bill, because all those at the top of the tree that have yet to take their stop are now starting to file through, because we're on lap 26. One more lap, the compulsory pit stop window closes.
It's
I think it must be Paul Wheel.
Bright was out on the track moments ago. He's going again. Radicic yet to make his stop, so they're running it right to the
Okay, mate, there's a long way to
limit.
go. Get into back into a rhythm, mate. Get the tyre temps up.
Radicic's lead is 13.5 seconds before Stephen Richards made his stop. Darryl.
It was busy here, Billy, just then with Richards in the pit. He had to wait for Wheel to go around him during the pit stop. The Rat nearly got the jump on him, and they just about had contact in pit lane. The Rat had to pull back and follow Richo out, and Wheel just stalled it. No problem there.
Marcus Ambrose' lead after all the pit stops have been played out is 21 seconds from Mark Scaife, with that very minor margin to Russell Ingall. Paul Radicic is in there, then Craig Lowndes, Todd Kelly, Cameron McConville, John Bow, Paul Morris, and then Stephen and Jason Richards. But this man is in a class of his own this weekend.
A lot of the engineers and mechanics were looking through the lap-by-lap breakdown of the previous race, Bill, and between events, and they were just astonished by the consistency of this car. They're hanging their heads saying, I just don't believe it. And it's happening again in this third and final event. He's done a fastest lap, 33.8. He's the only guy to get into the 33s. 21-second margin over Mark Scaife. That's not a bad recovery for Mark Scaife after the disaster at turn 1 yesterday. And Stone Brothers Racing and the Caltex crew have instructed Russell to keep the pressure on. Don't take any risks. Do not touch him. And just hang in there and do the best you can if an opportunity evolves.
I've done a quick calculation, Neil. Russell went into this race 24 points behind Jason. He needed then 12 positions to gain. At the moment, I calculate he's 18 positions ahead of Jason in the race. So he's got a little bit up his sleeve here. Jason will have to make some really big moves for Russell to start to feel the pressure again. And there's only 10 laps to go.
From a round standpoint, obviously, Marcus is the man. But there's an argument on for second at the moment, because Craig Lowndes would be second in the round and Paul Radisich would be third, but the margins are very tight there too, so lots of little things to be played for.
Riding with Ingle, Scaife, and there is Radisich just behind them. Radisich in a tough position because he needs to pick up 2 positions to tie with Lowndes for the round. But that means getting past these guys.
36 even, 35.8 for Scaife Ingle on the last lap. A little bit quicker in this race than they were in the back end of the previous. Obviously, the weather conditions are more favourable. Was the case of walking wounded at the back end of race 2, that is for sure.
And there is this menacing figure that Mark Scaife has had to put up with for lap after lap. For Scaife to finish in the top 3 at the end of this weekend, when you look at the way they started yesterday, it's been a good comeback. Todd Kelly not that far behind him either.
Mark went right to the back of the pack in that first race. He did manage to recover 18th, so it wasn't a total disaster, but we didn't see much of him. Then an 8th and a 7th in the first 2 races, and in the battle at the moment for either a second or could be a third if Russell does sneak on by, although he doesn't look to be too threatening right at the moment. He gets close every time at 9 and 2, but the rest of the circuit, Mark has him covered. Jason Bright, meanwhile, back in the order. He's mixed up there with David Bernard.
Fighting to hold position by the look of it, let alone threaten Seaton. So it doesn't look too good for Jason Bright. It looks wonderful for Stone Brothers Racing. We'll be back with more from Eastern Creek. We'll run to the finish. Oh, look at this, Jason Bright. A forlorn battle for second in the championship has just become really dependent now
3 seconds back to the guy behind.
On pure luck as David Bernard rounds him up, and that is important because it was only so far Russell Ingle could go forward this weekend to gather the points he needed to take second in the championship. He has been dependent heavily on Greg Murphy and Jason Bright having pretty miserable days, and that they certainly have had. So Bright was right up there all weekend, and then last 2 races disappointing.
Bright's down there in 24th now, and I'd say when he went on to his next set of tyres, it wasn't a flash set of tyres, and they're getting worse, and he does have that steering issue as well.
So things have gone Stone Brothers' way, but they've done as well as they can to maintain position. Ingle across the weekend qualified 6th, finished 7th in race 1. Remember, he had the slow pit stop, and it looked at that stage like it was not going to happen for him, and he finished 9th in race 2. But at that point in that race, Bright and Murphy dramatically fell away, so he was in the game. And of course, in this race, he's moved up to 3rd position behind Scaife. And at the same time, Bright and Murphy have stayed down the order. That's how it's happened. Here is Bauer defending from Morris.
Letting the order just run through so you can see the margins between the cars. Todd Kelly dropped away there a little as well. Rick Kelly, Jason Barkwana, he's down in 17th. Then there's quite a margin back to Craig Baird. Greg Murphy's been a quiet 3rd race for him. Warren Luff. Simon Wills, Glenn Seaton. Here comes Jason Bright.
A lot of these guys changing teams next year. There's pretty much all of them just there in that group of 5 or 6. Paul Wheels not, for obvious reasons.
Might have to come in.
Oh dear.
Engine failure.
Well, there's...
Go, mate.
well, we've come full circle with Ford Performance Racing this year.
Kill it, mate.
This is pretty much how Lowndes started the season, and sadly that's how his relationship with this team will end.
Switched it off, and he'll be filthy. Position 5, worked hard all day, been great results for him too.
And Ingle doesn't look as hungry to get past Scape as he was a little earlier, given Jason Bright is a very distant 24. Now the rain. Well, I don't know. There's 4 laps to go. What will they do?
Well, if it dumps, you can't stay out on slicks, but there'll be plenty of residual warmth in the track and the tyres. They'll be okay for the moment, but Rusty's with Craig.
Well, they popped the bonnet on the FPR Falcon, albeit briefly, but Craig, they shut it again pretty fast. What warning did it give you?
Well, to be honest, actually didn't really give us much warning at all. The lap prior, it just had a slight miss, and it went away, and it came back, went away, came back, and then it stayed back, and then obviously did 3/4 of a lap, and then everyone can see the rest. It smoked up, and the way we in. So the bonnet shut for the last time in 2004.
It's a tough way to end your association with this team. You arrived here, I know, pumped up for a really strong way to venture and part company, weren't you?
Oh, definitely. I think, regardless of where I was going or what I was doing in 2005, I wanted to give these guys the best send-off I could as a driver, and that's to win, or if not, be on the podium. And I think we were pretty close for that today, and it is a shame because since Sandown, we've definitely turned a huge corner as a team, and that's the way it goes.
For what it's worth, Craig, the racing's been spectacular. You've proven it, even though there's a DNF in the final race. Well done.
Thank you.
He's pretty relaxed about the universe, isn't he? He's off to 888 Race Engineering next year. Stone Brothers Engines in that program, and their car this weekend is performing very encouragingly well. So
Lights on, please, Rusty. Lights on.
Lowndes gets to spend a bit of quality time with Junior.
I thought you were going to say quality time with Mark Osler, but all the time you spend with Mark is quality time, of course.
So Ambrose lead is 24.7 seconds as we see the track just getting slightly damp. Just repeating those round scores at the moment as the drivers pretty much hold position. Ambrose on 192 points for the round, that's a given. Radicic 174, Ingle 160. Stephen Richards is on 158. So Richo could end the year on the podium if he gets past Paul Morris. So we'll have to wait and see about that. He might have to get past Cameron McConville too. Not sure how the countback works in this Big Pond Grand Finale. Our focus has been on broader issues.
The track's got that sheen on it at the moment. It would be slippery in a few spots, but not enough for them to want to dive in at the moment. You just soldier on with what you got. The only time that it just becomes unmanageable on slicks is when it really dumps and then the water sits up on the surface, the tyre sits up on the water, and the car just skates every which way and you need wets. But I don't think we've got that sort of water imminent at the moment, although you never know, you say that and it'll dump all of a sudden. We've seen it happen here before. I've seen people sliding off the final corner and just literally sliding their way down the main straight at 20 kilometres an hour, no grip at all.
Less than 2 laps to go now.
3 laps to go, Mark. 3 laps.
There you go. Now it's lap 37 to 39.
36.1 the last lap for Marcus, 36.4 for Mark Skate, 36.2 for Russell Ingle, 6.9 for Radicic, 6.9 for Todd Kelly, 6.4 for Cam McConville. So the track hasn't lost a lot of pace just yet. They've probably lost half, maybe 3/4 of a second. Oh, contact. It's been pretty quiet between these two because they settled Russell down and just told him about the championship and told him to keep it clean. But as the track conditions change, one car may be better suited to the conditions than the other. No doubt in my mind that if Russell thinks there's an opportunity here, he'll certainly grab it, because it'd be nice to finish second in the race for his perspective as well as second in the championship. Getting a bit wetter over the back here at turn 7. He's able to use a bit more curb. I made this remark earlier that, oh, Mark makes a mistake. He's been able to perch the car up on the top of the sawtooth a bit more aggressively. He does it here as well. Mark Scaife's not able to use quite as much curb as Russell Ingall. Oh, they're right on the tippy-toe edge under brakes in these conditions.
This is Stephen Richards behind Paul Morris. Jason Richards making it a queue of 3. Richards just 2 points behind Russell Ingall.
Russell's had a few runner-up positions in this championship before with Larry Perkins. And it's all fallen his way this afternoon with what's happened to Murphy and also to Jason Bright, but he's had good car speed too, which is undeniable.
In the past, Russell's been in the thick of the battle for the title down to the final round and has been quite frustrated by that, but I think this is a little bit different. The outcome was decided a few rounds out, so he was content or knowledgeable that he could not win the championship, but to finish with second has been an achievement for him. So it's a little bit different for him this year, but as you said, Neil, he's been runner-up quite a few times in this championship, and that is something he wants to break out of.
25 seconds is the margin between Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife. The order is Ambrose, Scaife, Ingall, Radisich, Kelly. That is Todd, McConville. You can hear some wheel spin in the background there. Then Morris, Stephen Richards, Jason Richards, Max Wilson. Here's the race leader.
And he's nearly 26 seconds ahead of the rest.
Last lap, Marcus, last lap.
So he's on his last lap. When we saw Ingall and Scaife before, they were
36.2 on the last lap for Marcus, so still reasonable speed. So whatever level of wet it is out there is not affecting the lap speed to any great extent.
Prix. He's back in 30th position. Here's Marcus Ambrose and Scaife and Ingall.
No, he hasn't, Marcus. He doesn't need to.
Scaife and Ingall distant. They'll be getting on their last lap about now.
36.5 on the last lap for Mark Scaife, 36.7 for Russell Ingall, who I think now has given the game away and is content to stay in a solid third place. 37.8 for Paul Radisich, 37.1 for Todd Kelly. It is getting just a little wetter out there now. So a half a lap to run for Marcus Ambrose. The last racing lap for V8 Supercars in 2004. Oddly enough, they're back out here again next week for some corporate work with their sponsors, so not too much time off before this team. And in fact, Brad Jones Racing are back out here during the week as well. Always a lot of work behind the scenes. 36 people at Stone Brothers Racing have worked their backsides off in 2004. They've brought home a championship, the second in a row for this man, and they've managed to orchestrate it in such a way that Russell Ingall is going to make it a 1-2 for the team.
Marcus, fantastic way to end the year, mate. Russell's second in the championship.
Well, the team has just said it. 1-2 in the championship for Stone Brothers Racing. What more can you do? A clean sweep for the main man.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Great car, great day, great year. Just fantastic. Awesome effort. That last change call was just superb. See you boys back in the pit.
Mark Scaife will take second in the race. Ingall is cruising across in third. What an achievement.
Hey, we've done it, buddy. We're second in the championship, third for the day. We've friggin' done it. Well done, boys. Excellent, excellent. Oh, thank you.
Well, it was Glenn Seaton and a Ford team with Alan Jones, the Formula One world champion who last achieved the 1-2 finish in a championship. They were great days for Ford. Well, the great days are back. Russell Ingall third in the race. Paul Radisich fourth, and that means that Ambrose wins the round from Radisich and Ingall, so Ford once again occupies the top three positions at the end of a round at Eastern Creek. Todd Kelly, fifth, Cameron McConville, Paul Morris, Stephen Richards, Jason Richards, Garth Tander. That's your top 10 in the third race.
Good result also for Cameron McConville in sixth. And look at these guys, they're absolutely over the moon. There's so much work goes in behind the scenes in these race teams, and often the emphasis is not placed on the technicians behind the scenes, the machinists, the fabricators, the engine department, the sheet metal guys, the paint and panel people, the mechanics, the engineering group, the data people, you know, the electrical engineers. There's so many people involved behind the scenes. The administrative people, those that are in the marketing and also merchandise. And this guy, well, he'll be absolutely wrapped because it's been a heartbreaker for him this year. So many of the race results haven't gone his way, but strong result for him heading into 2005 as we recap the placings for race 3 at the Big Pond Grand Finale Eastern Creek. Ambrose, Scaife, Ingle, Radisich, Kelly, McConville, Morris, Richards. That's not a stunner, it's Stephen and Jason. And Garth Tander is in 10th position. Great recovery after that driveline problem yesterday.
Max Wilson, solid performance across the weekend, qualifying 7th, finishing 22nd, but then came back to finish 8th and then 11th. Further down the order, David Bernard slipped up a little bit, got a little bit of strife after coming through the field strongly. There are a few other sad stories further down the order, including, of course, Craig Lowndes, who at one stage was going to finish 2nd in this round. But now he looks ahead to 2005. Where does Marcus Ambrose look? He looks for his fans.
Great moment for Marcus.
Okay, the championship finishes up like this. Ambrose, the only driver to accumulate more than 2,000 points. Russell Ingall by 16 points in the end. Who would have thought that he would have been so safe in the latter stages of race 3? Ahead of Brighton Murphy. A fleet of Holden vehicles there. Stephen Richards, Rick Kelly and Todd Kelly. Barkwana, he'll be very happy with that performance. Orcon Racing is on the way up. They've accessed Stone Brothers engines this year. It's been a big help to them. And following suit next season, of course, is 888 Racing with Craig Lowndes behind the wheel. Further down the order, Garth Tander ending his association with Gary Rogers Motorsport in 11th place in the championship. Mark Scaife 12th. Who would have bet on that at the start of the season? And indeed, after all his good qualifying performances.
That was a nice moment between Scaife and Ingle. Great professionalism, acknowledging each other's performance, and Mark Scaife congratulating Russell on his drive and his championship performance. And I thought the two of them drove a great race this afternoon, that third race. They kept the blowtorch on each other one way or another, and they didn't step out of the box. Gave the fans here a huge crowd, plenty to cheer about. There's Ken Douglas, Jim Stone, some of the senior guys from Stone Brothers Racing.
We have emphasised that it has been an aggressive championship this year, even more so than last year, which was quite oppressive, but it's been a sportsmanlike effort as well. Let's go to Greg Rust on the podium for the last time this season.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible final round of the 2004 V8 Supercar Championship Series, the Big Pond Grand Finale here at Eastern Creek. In 3rd place, and this man here today has sealed a championship 1-2 for the Stone Brothers team, a first for that outfit. Would you please give it up, driving the 98 car, for Russell Ingall, the enforcer. Come on over, we'll have a quick word. Well done, great effort here today.
Mate, I'm just so happy for the SBR team. Mate, they just know how to grab a handful of that brown stuff and turn it into gold nuggets, mate. They're spot on.
There he is, 2nd in the championship for 2004 and 3rd in the Big Pond Grand Finale. 2nd for this round, the double World Cup champion. This man is one of the gutsiest touring car drivers, and he's back on the podium from 888 Race Engineering, the Rat, Paul Radisich. Hey, that's how it's done.
Yeah, look, a great note to leave Ford. Thanks to all the Ford fans out there who've been with me for such a long time. And look, here's to next year.
Ryder Pastures in 2005. He's on the podium here for the final round. Well done to 888 Race Engineering. But the winner of the final round, and he did it in style, ladies and gentlemen, a clean sweep for Marcus Ambrose and the Stone Brothers team. He is also the 2004 champion, Marcus Ambrose, winner of the Big Pond Grand Finale. Congratulations. What a weekend for you. What a weekend for this incredible team.
Yeah, what a great effort for Russell to get up to second in the championship. You know, we were really striving for that to start the weekend. 3 race wins for the team as well. It's just been a fantastic year for us and a fantastic day.
It's been a wonderful season, Neil, and as Greg said, we look forward to great things next year with driver changes, team changes. We're going to Shanghai. Awesome.
26 races in this championship this year, and that man in the middle of the podium has won 11 of those, 3 of them this weekend, and that's an outstanding performance.
Well, it speaks for itself. It was a conclusive performance. Mick Doohan, Michael Schumacher, ask all the greats, and they really want to win that final round. No matter how easy the championship has been, Marcus Ambrose wants to be remembered for a dominant year. On behalf of all the crew, it's thank you and goodbye from Eastern Creek.